Hey everyone, Poindexter here. Well, Jay as I'm known in the real world. I reached out to Mr. Calandale a few days ago to humbly ask if he would recommend my very small wargame corner of the internet. He politely agreed and asked if I would do an intro video and briefly talk about my channel. Well, when Il Duce makes a request, of course you do it. My channel is actually quite simple and similar in ways to a lot of other ones that are out there. I do playthroughs of my favorite solitaire war games, but I try to present them in a way that makes them really informative and fun, maybe a little flashy. What I try to do is present the game almost like a tutorial video, where I can spend a little time explaining the mechanics and break them down to make them more understandable. But you'll probably notice my presentation is a little different. What I've done is digitally recreate the game into a computer game / program called Tabletop Simulator for the PC. It gives me the opportunity to frame the shots the way that I want to and really focuses on the information I'm trying to relay. I also throw in some special effects, because they're fun and it looks kind of cool. My wife says it's like the Hollywood version of a board game. Right now I'm doing a playthrough of Gregory Smith's Interceptor Ace, a really fun narrative-based solo game. But I also have several videos for B-17 Flying Fortress Leader from Dan Versing Games on the channel. So by all means, check them out, and if you're on the fence about any of these games, I hope the videos help make your decision to buy them and support the developers of these great games a little easier. In closing, I want to sincerely thank all of my current subscribers and commenters on my channel. The feedback has been very positive and helpful, and I appreciate all the kind words and praise for the videos. I'm very happy that many of you find the videos helpful and informative, which has always been my goal when I started doing this a little over a year ago. So, thanks for watching, and we'll talk again soon. Oh, and before I forget, you're watching No Enemies Here, Wargaming News.
The boy is playing with the balloon. The banana is yellow. The restaurant is open. The girl goes to school.
Strategy and Tactics, issue number 321 Game Edition. The game is Paratroopers. The game is Paratrooper, Great Airborne Assaults, Korea. This is a 2-player game, and the game's included in this scenario. I should say the game includes 2 scenarios. Operation Tomahawk, Ridgeway Springs, The Trap, March 1951, and Suncheon, Air Assault on North Korea, October 1950s. And what you get with this game is one 22 by 34-inch map and 176 counters. Modern War, issue 46. This is a game edition, and the game is Foreign Legion Paratroopers. This is a solitaire game in which you control the French forces. What you get with this game is one 22 by 34-inch map and 176 counters. If anybody wants to reminisce about the B-17 Queen of the Skies videos by STUKAJOE, I suggest you check out Poindexter's videos. He right now is doing Interceptor Aces on part 5, 2 wings and a pair. The story so far, Lieutenant Mayer transfers to another fighter group closer to the action, and action is what he encounters. Despite being plagued by gun jams, our pilot continues to be a menace to Allied bombers.
Hey guys, Dave here. Welcome to Centurion's Review, the punk rock band of Wargame Review Institutions. Didn't get to do a clip last week, so this has got a bunch of stuff in it. First game we're doing a game playthrough and review of this week is Attack of the Mutants from Yaquinto Publishing. This is the folio version that was given out free at conventions and with their catalog and so forth. It's a very simple game. It's meant to introduce new players to wargaming who have never played a wargame before. There's also a box version of it that was actually sold that had, from what I was told, more sophisticated rules, more detail, a little bit more complication, but it still wasn't a complicated game. But I think Attack of the Mutants, the free edition, is fine for introducing new wargamers to the hobby. Next game we're doing a review of on our website is The Last King of Scotland from Victory Point Games. It's about the Uganda-Tanzania War. It's a very simple game that's fun to play. It's also got Idi Amin in it, and we all know what he's been accused of eating, and he's a crazy person in history, but it's a good game. The next game we're doing a review of, actually my friend's doing a review of it, is The Invasions of Japan. It's from World at War magazine. It's a reprint redo of Operation Olympic from Strategy and Tactics magazine. It also has Operation Coronet in it. He seemed to really like the game. And then on our YouTube channel, the first game we're doing a first look at is Swashbuckler, a game of daring do. It's basically a melee game where you plan your turns in advance, and kind of feels a little bit Three Musketeers like. You have barroom brawls, and there's also non-lethal combat in it. And there's also, on the map, there's some ships, so you can have like melee actions aboard ships. It's kind of cool. I played it years ago. Don't remember too much of it other than you had to plan the turns, but I look forward to trying it again. And then the next game we're doing a first look at, this is a good one, Castle Itter, The Strangest Battle of World War II. This is from DVG. In this game, the battle is between the Germans and some Austrian resistance and Americans and French resistance all on the same side versus a German Panzer Grenadier division. Yeah, that's right, it's German. Part of it is German versus German, so that's very unusual. The components for the game look really good, and I'm really impressed with it, and the rules look like they're going to be pretty easy to learn, so I look forward to reviewing this soon. Hope to have a review of it in a few weeks. And the next game we're doing a first look at is Oil War. This game's from 1975, I believe, and I think it was first published in Strategy and Tactics magazine. This is the folio version. It's essentially a hypothetical war between the US and its allies and some of the oil-producing nations in the Persian Gulf around 1979. Looks interesting. It looks really easy to learn. And the last thing we have on our YouTube channel this week is My Painted Miniatures Part 5. This is my Warhammer 40K collection. It's a Space Marine army that's painted in NATO 4-color camouflage. It has regular Space Marines, Devastators, Scout Snipers, tons of different vehicles and stuff, and a Thunderfire cannon, a few other sort of things. I haven't played the game in years, but I've held on to the collection. I used to have a Sisters of Battle collection too. That one I don't have anymore, but I just wanted to show you guys it. Thanks for watching, and hope to see you guys soon on our website and on our YouTube channel. Have a good evening.
A game for gamers, made by gamers, by Flying Pig Games.
The chief of bonding with board games is unboxing Agents of Mayhem from Academy Games, Pride of Babylon plus the bonus characters, a game designed by Gunther and Uwe Eichert. Actually, it's just Gunther. Papa didn't do anything on this one. Plus, Bart is doing hand pag like the fans' top 5 expensive war game collection sets. Bart is also unboxing a game designed by Greg Smith, Interceptor Race. The strongman of war games, Rob Orn of Rob's Tabletop World, in his War and Pieces segment, is taking a look at Emmanuel Arcane's game, Airborne in Your Pocket, a game published by Wordforged Games. Also, the Strong Man takes a look at Atlantic Storm, published by Lock&Load Publishing and designed by Ben Knight. And STUKAJOE previews a game by Joe Chacon called Front Towards Enemy, a game published by MMP. And the Player's Aid unbox Victoria Cross 2 Deluxe Edition, the battles of Rorke's Drift and Isandlwana, a game published by Worthington Publishing. Grant and Alexander also review Warfighter Shadow War from DVG, and also unbox Wing Leader Victories from GMT Games, designed by Lee Brimicon Wood. You want to know what's happening on the big board? I'll tell you what's happening in big board. Kevin is back 2 hours earlier from Game On, and he's gonna speak about 9 games he played. Game on, Kevin. I gotta give props to the big guy, you know, even though I don't want to. But he has a video, a stop-motion video, which I think is fantastic, on the great battles of history. And I hope this is pronounced Kunaha, but he probably says Kunaxa. And if it's Mexican, which I think it is, then it's Kunaha. Turn 3. Wayne Hansen on his Let's Play segment plays Space Infantry Resurgent, the mission S001. This is a game designed by Gottardo Zancani and Blackwell Hurd, published by Lock&Load Publishing. He also checks out America Bomber, Evil Queen of the Skies, a game designed by Gregory Smith and published by Compass Games. And he has a couple of opinions on counter thickness of Compass Games games. So the winner of Patton's horse, actually his horse was white, but I said brown. So 2 people, 2, answered the question on the proper video. So, Robert Carroll, you're the winner. And Robert, leave me all your vitals on No Enemies Here at videotron.ca. And Robert, you win this right here. Nice box, East Front, tank on tank, Lock&Load Publishing. I thank them for giving you this, or giving me the opportunity to let you win this. Plus, Robert, it's not finished. You get this too. You get the expansion. Red Storm in the Valley. Lock&Load. Right. Thanks, Robert. So, this one here, the expansion, comes in a nifty Ziploc bag with lots of goodies in there. And your base game, this one here, comes with lots of goodies. Hey. With like lots of tanks, man. Lots of material. This is just a fun little game. Huh? If you have a son, a grandson, a wife who's into war games. Yeah, anyways. So, that's that. And, my next giveaway, I'll announce it next video. It's a nice one. And I'm sorry, but I have to give my patrons, my supporters, some special service once in a while. So, I will be giving the said game to my supporters, my Patreon supporters, which I thank you very much, a chance to win the game I will announce next week. So, please, be a supporter. Thank you very much. ARDWULF of ARDWULF'S Lair has a couple of videos out, one being a giveaway. He's announcing the giveaway winners. Also, he's launched Patreon and a segment called Ask ARDWULF. Another video has him clipping counters and answering questions live outside Origins 2019. And also, he unboxes Next War Korea 2nd Edition published by GMT Games, and has a special announcement on rebooting How to War Game series, and also plays Columbia Games RPG City of Harn Part 2, Tashal. And ARDWULF also previews Winterfest 2020. This is a little preview video, and he also wishes us Grognards Happy Valentine. Who thought we were so mushy? We're Grognards are supposed to be tough. A game recon by BLASTPOP. He takes a look and examines the Curse game for Strategy and Tactics, issue 253. And Mo of Mo's Game Table and Whiskey Charlie the War Game Chat episode 3. Mo and Gimpy and myself were interviewing and roasting STUKAJOE. Mo is also previewing World at War 85 Storming the Gap Solo Assistant from Lock and Load Publishing. Gimpy the Gimpy Gamer does a Space Infantry Resurgence Boot Camp, and it's boot camp number 21, and he talks about the Hive generation. He also continues his Conflict of Heroes Storm of Steel, or Storms of Steel Part 6, a game by Academy Games, and he has the Whiskey Charlie War Game Chat, episode 3 on, plus David Thompson's and Nicola Saggini's by Stealth and C. If there ever was an award for best art cover in a war game, this one's hard to beat. Combat Board Games takes a look at Peloponnesian War, designed by Mark Herman and published by Victory Games. This is the first game of the Peloponnesian War, meaning that it is not the reprint by GMT. Marco Wargamer takes a look at War in the Wind, the Battle for Atu Island, May 1943, designed by Mike Nagel, published by Compass Games. Counterproductive Games does turn 9 and 10 of Scenario 1 of World at War Storming the Gap by Lock and Load Publishing. Also, he gets hot and steamy with Old School Tactical Volume 3. This is the Pacific game. It's an overview. A game designed by Shane Logan, the artist is Shane Logan, and published by Flying Pig Games. Also, Counterproductive takes a look at Normandy, The Beginning of the End, a game published by Draco Ideas, designed by Juan Carlos Cebrian and Nicolas Escobi. And the guys at ASL Scenario Archive talk about Illuminating Rounds 13, Action Pack 14. Stephen Dolges gives us a report on the happenings at Game On 2020. There's a spoiler. He says it was a great time. USA Patriot takes a look at Across the Pacific, a game by Pacific Rim Publishing and designed by Michael Myers. JK War Games reviews Frontier Wars. This is a board game by Manuel Burueco, I hope I pronounced that right, published by Van Ryder Games. Jan Heinemann of Let's Play History continues his playthroughs of Through the Darkest of Times. Number 4, number 5, and number 6. These are all independent videos. Plus, he continues, he does continue, a game he must have put off because I haven't seen it in a while. Expeditions Vikings, or Viking, number 67 and 68. This is a game developed by Logic Artists and published by THQ Nordic. And Harebrained Games gives us his Week in Games. Matt White, also known as the War Game Artists. Gives us his game review of Waterloo Campaign 1815 from C3I Magazine, and a game designed by Mark Herman. Rough Swordsman Wargamer continues his playthrough part 4 of Avalanche Press's Panzer Grenadier, and he has a saying here. He says, he makes mistakes aplenty, but he makes them so you don't have to. Also, Rough Swordsman opens the box to DVG's Wargamer World War II expansion number 40, the UK Airborne. Charles Cabb of the Charlotte Area Historical Gaming gives us everything on Command and Colors. Everything! Check it out. And Napoleon's Triumph gives us a aperçu of what's on the table for February 2020. And Lock and Load Publishing has a digital trailer out of Nations at War. Awakening the Bear, 3rd edition, available now. Storms of Steel, 3rd edition, available now.
Hey Dan and No Enemies Here Faithful, this is David Thompson, and today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about a game I have coming out soon called By Stealth and Sea. So this is a game that I'm designing with Nicola Saghini, and it's being published by Dan Versen Games. So in By Stealth and Sea, you take on the role of basically coordinating the activities of Italy's human torpedo operators. So during World War II, Italy used to great effect frogmen operators who would ride human torpedoes against the Royal Navy and its allies in ports such as Alexandria, Algiers, and Gibraltar. And they would attack Royal Navy ships or cargo ships there in an effort to disrupt the Allies. So that's what this game is all about. It's a game that you'll be conducting missions where you're controlling 3 different groups of human torpedo operators, so 3 different pairs of operators, and you'll be doing that over the course of a full campaign. So over the campaign, you're going to build up the experience of your operators, develop your technology, but in response, the Royal Navy will also build up its defenses. So this is a prototype of the game. The game actually is going to be on Kickstarter at the end of February. So this is just a prototype of it. And this is only one board. This is the Gibraltar board. So like I said, the activities occurred in Gibraltar, Algiers, and Alexandria. So the actual game will come with 3 different boards, one for each of those locations. The SLCs, which is the acronym, the Italian acronym, which I won't try to actually say what the Italian is because I'll butcher it, so we'll just call them human torpedoes. Those are what you're going to be controlling throughout the course of the game, and you're going to be opposed by patrol craft. So these are the Royal Navy craft that will appear on the board and try to stop you as you make your way inward. Your targets are going to be a combination of cargo ships, which are typically going to be in the outer harbor, and then the Royal Navy and its allies, the naval ships that will be protected by the inner harbor. And you might not be able to see it here, but you can see as you make your way from the outer harbor into the inner harbor, the anti-torpedo net. So lots of defenses here in the game to try to stop you as you make your way. Now, I should have said up front, this is a game that's designed primarily for solitaire play. You can play it cooperatively. You wouldn't change any rules. You would just have you and your partners take on the different roles of the SLCs, right? So you would just divide them up. But primarily designed as a solitaire game. I've got this set up for the first scenario. So in this scenario, what'll happen is there's 3 different main phases of play. This first scenario took place early in the war, so the human torpedoes that you're operating are prototypes. They're very faulty, and so the very first phase of the game will be what's called the forward positioning phase. Now what this means is it's abstractly representing the progress where your operators got on board the submarine. The human torpedoes are in canisters. They make the trip to the target. They're secretly released, and then the operators get on the human torpedoes and go to the target. That process resulted in a lot of faults with the human torpedoes and a lot of fatigue for the operators. So there's a phase at the very beginning of the game where you're just going to make checks against the technology that you have to see if the human torpedoes incur faults. And so there's a deck of cards, and depending on the technologies you have at the time, you're going to draw 1 or 2 for each of the human torpedoes, and you're going to make checks against that. Now the entire game uses this concept of skill checks. That's at the heart of the game. Once the actual gameplay begins, each human torpedo will have 2 action points to spend. Now, the key concept of this game is one of balancing action economy versus your probability of success for every action you take. So, in general, if you want to take an action during the game and you want to ensure you're successful, you spend 2 action points to do it. If you want to try to improve your action economy or action efficiency, you can take 2 different actions, but that's going to require you to take a check for each of those. So for example, let's say we want we have our SLC1 here. We can see that it's got the 2 operators here, which features the actual likenesses of the people who operated the human torpedoes. We can see all the different stats of the human torpedo. Let's say we just want it to dive. We can spend both action points and we can have it dive. Or we could say, okay, I want to take a pilot check. We can see that we have a pilot skill of 1. That means you roll a single 6-sided die. And if we meet the requirement, in this case it's a 4 for a successful pilot check, we could dive with 1 action point, and then we could take another action. Let's say we want to take what's called a full move, meaning move 2 spaces. That would be another pilot check. Now you can only attempt each type of action once per turn. So it's a gamble that you're going to have to make, and that tension runs throughout the entirety of the game. So that's at the heart of it. So I tangented there a little bit about the skill system, but that was just a way to get back to let's talking about these repairs, or these faults. So like I said, at the very beginning of the game, you're going to go through and you're going to make fault checks against each of the SLCs to see if it takes on any faults with it, or your breathing gear, or your wetsuit, any of the gear that your operators are depending on. If you're successful, there's no problem. If you're unsuccessful, it depends on the fault. Each one operates a little differently, and I'm not going to go through them all, but I just happen to draw what's called a ballast tank fault. So if this has a fault, let's say SLC2 has a fault here, we would take a token off the ballast tank. We would show that it has a fault. We're going to put it on the card. Now, while that token's been removed, our ballast tank is not functional, and this SLC, or this human torpedo, cannot submerge, which means it's going to be on the surface, which means it's easily detected by the Royal Navy. That's very dangerous. So these operators are going to do everything in their power to try to repair this ballast tank fault as quickly as possible, get the token back on the SLC, and get going. So again, you're going to run through those faults at the beginning of the turn. One SLC will potentially incur a fault each turn. Then you're going to go through, you're going to have 2 action points as I described for each SLC or human torpedo. You'll conduct your actions, and then it's the defense's turn. So a key part of this game is deciding whether you want to be submerged or surfaced with your SLC. Being submerged helps in a lot of ways. You're much more difficult to see, you're much more difficult to attack. However, you start to incur I guess more penalties, and you make it more difficult on yourself when you're taking actions. So for example, let's say all we want to do is change course for our SLC. If you're surfaced, you can see Gibraltar, you can see Algiers, you can see Alexandria, you can reference those points. And so you don't need to make a check at all. You just take an action and you rotate your human torpedo. But if you're submerged, that's going to be a pilot check. You can move further if you're surfaced. So things like that. So there's a lot of benefits to being surfaced, there's a lot of benefits to being submerged, and you're going to have to weigh those choices. Regardless, though, we would go through the defenses here one at a time. So there would be a searchlights check for the defenders. They would see if the searchlight spots your human torpedoes. If the defenses have progressed far enough, so essentially what happens is over the course of the campaign, the better you do, meaning the more ships you sink, the Royal Navy responds in kind. So the better you do, the better the defenses are going to be, just as it was realistically, or in reality. So if the Royal Navy's progressed far enough, they'll have an underwater dive team that's actually out looking to find your human torpedoes. We'll have patrol craft responding to human torpedoes that are on the surface and those that are submerged. We have a movement chart. So once patrol craft are on the board, even if they've detected and then subsequently lost a human torpedo, they're going to move, depending on this chart here, to continue their search. Attacking. If they're in the same hex as the human torpedo, they're going to try to attack it. Again, if you're surface, much easier to attack. The shore-based mortar. So this is extremely dangerous once it's unlocked for the defenders. The shore-based mortars were mounted near the entrances to the inner harbor, and they would have mortars periodically launching depth charges trying to take out these human torpedoes. And then lastly is the difficulty of the anti-torpedo net itself. So over the course of the game, the challenge of entering into that area can be increased. At the end of the round, you just clear off, you go through what's called a cleanup phase. You're going to ready some of the patrol craft, etc. But very, very minor stuff there. So that's a very high level overview of the game. The game plays extremely quickly. So you can once you've learned how to play the game, you can play through an entire mission in about 30 minutes. The full campaign is 9 missions. So you could, in theory, play through an entire campaign of the game in a single 5-hour sitting. So as I said before, if you're playing the campaign, you're going to have a lot of options about, depending on how successful you are and which operators are successful, increasing their skills, increasing the technology of your human torpedoes or your warheads, your breathing gear, your wetsuits, etc. So I hope that sounds interesting to you. Obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. You can always, I'm always watching No Enemies Here, so feel free to comment on the video itself. But yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for the time, Dan, and to everybody who's watching No Enemies Here. I really appreciate it.
The relaunch of Yo-Hey, an amazing skirmish game in an oriental fantasy setting. Lead legendary heroes into epic battles between asymmetrical clans. Designed by J.A. Ramirez and Christian V. Thun. Published by Eclipse Editorial. And what you get with Yo-Hey is a lot of stuff. So much so that, if I would say this, we'd be here all night. So please check out the Kickstarter webpage of Yo-Hey. AJ Toynbee of HEXES and Soldiers talks about Mustache the Dog in Factoid number 2. Mauro Faina has 4 podcasts out. The first one, episode 53, being Undaunted Normandy by Osprey Games, plus episode 54, Caesar, the Great Battles of Caesar, a GMT game in which he tackles the Battle of Pharsalus, plus episode 55, Desert One War, a strategy and tactics game, and from Ares Game, episode 56, Tripods and Triplanes. Can Games, Ottawa, Canada, Friendly Mayhem since 1977. This will be taking place at the Rideau Curling Club. That's right, we're in Canada, at 715 Cooper Street, Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. May 15th to the 17th, 2020. The BFG Con 2020, the Big Frederick Gaming Convention, March 13th to 15th, 2020 in Frederick, Maryland. PrezCon 2020, February 24th to March 1st in Charlottesville, Virginia. Consim World Expo Dallas, featuring WarGameClassics.con. March 6th to the 8th, 2020 at the Delta Hotel Dallas, Allen, 777 Waters Creek Boulevard, Allen, Texas. There's gonna be war games, Euro games, special events,
flea market tables, exhibitor sales, seminar, and special guest is Mark Herman.
In London, England, Cardboard Emperors, Strategy and War Games, the 21st to the 22nd of March, 2020, in the main room, Young Chelsea Bridge Club. Breakout 2020, where? In Toronto. When? March 20th to the 22nd, 2020. The premier tabletop gaming convention in Toronto, Canada. GaryCon 12, March 26th to the 29th, 2020, in the Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, USA. This con is named after Gary Gygax, the creator of Dungeons & Dragons. Another week, another show. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you enjoyed David Thompson's little preview of By Stealth and Sea. I know I'm waiting for it. And plus that cover, awesome. Thank you to my supporters. Please, if you'd like to support this channel, support on Patreon. And I just got a gig. I got a musical gig, and I was just hired as Lock and Load's publishing house composer, meaning that whenever they need music, I'm the guy. So when David needs a piece of music yesterday, and he says, Dan, you got an hour to send it to me and write something catchy and cool. Okay, bye, click. Well, I'm the guy. These compositions will be for sale on the Lock and Load website, Lock and Load publishing website. So if anybody's interested, please check out the Lock and Load publishing website. Nothing is up yet because I gotta get cracking and composing. That's gonna take up a large chunk of my time, but hey, that's why I get paid the big bucks, right? Right. So, again, thanks for watching. Check out the compositions as they come out on the Lock and Load publishing website. And if you like them, purchase them. That's another way of supporting me. Thanks. Have a good week. I'll see you next week. Word Forge Games. You know what I like about D-Day Dice? Everything. I like it because I know the designer lives in Quebec, so if I want to get in touch with him, all I gotta do is call. Not that he's gonna answer, but you know what I'm saying? D-Day Dice! Do or die! This is what it sounds like when I want to play a game. Does anybody want to play a game? Nothing. But D-Day Dice, my wife and I, we played for a year, every Saturday. That's how much fun she had playing this light and easy war game that the whole family could get into. We game together. We game together. Hey, you going through puberty? The designer, Emmanuel Oaken, captured the feeling of getting off the beaches of Normandy perfectly. You gotta move. Because you get 12 battle maps, double-sided, 28 beautiful dice, 4 unit marker dice, 104 cards, 30 tokens, 4 player aids, and 4 resource trackers. You get a lot, and that's the core box. What was that horrible music? That's Nebby. He's got a crush on Ellen. Ah, God, I gotta talk to him. Oh, Nebby! Nebby! Yes, Papa? Papa! But don't you see that man in the picture? Like, she's hugging that man. That's her husband. What are you talking about? That's her brother. Oh my God, he's delusional. So this war game's main mechanic is resource management. And here's your resource management card. You need men on top, stars to get specialists, tools to get machines, and courage. So you start your battle map and you're ready to go. As soon as you get to the beach, you gain 4 men. And on your resource card, you add 4 men. Eh? C'est pas cool, ça? And that number in white means you lose 2, right off the bat. If you move right, you gain a star, but you lose 4 men. If you move left, you gotta spend the courage, you still lose 4 men, but you gain a courage. So you move right. Then you go to the next sector, and there, you lose 6 men, and because it's in black, you can only stay 1 turn, as opposed to when it's white, you can stay 3 turns. So this time, you can't move up, rolling 1 die less, there's a machine gun, and you lose 10 men, you haven't had time to gather resources. So you move left, well, you lose 3 men, and there's a machine gun! So you see what I mean by resource management? You gotta stay in sectors which offer you more time to gather resources, but you're still losing men, so, you know, this is a cooperative game, can't be played solo, I love it. This game has loads of expansions, and just like Star Wars, it didn't start at the beginning, it started in the middle. So there's a beginning game. As you get into the beach, you're on the boat, which is called Way to Hell. And then once you've landed, and you've beaten all the beach stuff, you're on land, you're trying to free France. Awesome. Look, I'm gonna continue next week with this series because we're gonna go through the expansions, and I think they're wicked. D-Day Dice. If you wanna know more about war games, check out my channel. Ciao! We game.